Hello everyone and welcome to this program. My name is Mauri. In this video we will examine an opening trap that I call Discovered at Home. And this opening trap is also a mating pattern where the last move will be three things: a double check, a discovered check, and checkmate. We will look at 3 games that I played on the internet where I used the same mating pattern in different openings. I was white in all 3 games. An important part of the trap that we're about to see is the so-called golden rules of the opening and what can happen if one player follows them and the other does not. So before we see the games, let's quickly see what the golden rules are. So here they are. Control the center, bring out your pieces, and castle to get your king safe. If you follow these rules, you're more likely to get a good middle game position. But let's dive into the games themselves. So we'll start with the main game, which is Crammy versus Flying Far Away, played in 2007. So e4, d5, e takes d5, knight f6, d4, knight takes d5, and knight f3. So far, so good. My opponent now played a6. I do not believe that this is a particularly good move because it doesn't follow any of the golden rules and therefore is, in my opinion at least, a bit of a waste of tempo. So what I did was I simply continued to follow the golden rules with bishop e2, e6, and castles. After c5, now I noticed that he wasn't getting ready to castle his king, and that gave me an idea, which starts with a subtle move that doesn't look like much, but this move will actually play a very big role in not that many moves time. So the move is rook to e1, and putting a rook on the same file as the opponent's king can often be quite dangerous for your opponent if they don't see what's coming, which is pretty much exactly what happened in this game. So after knight c6, now I have a plan of trying to open up the e-file. Now this won't be possible without a little help from my opponent, but let's see how it went. After c4, attacking the knight on d5, knight moves, and now we play d5. So what we're hoping for here is basically e takes d5, and then we have a wide open e-file where he has black as a king, and we have our rook. Okay, so yeah, better move here would have been knight e7, but my opponent played e takes d5, which is a mistake. So now after c takes d5, black is actually already in serious trouble and probably lost actually. Let's see why that is. Let's look at black's options here. If he plays, for example, queen takes d5, now we will do what's called a discovered check, or disco check as I like to call it. We move the bishop away and the rook gives the disco check. But we're also going to do something else at the same time, which is we're going to attack black's queen with bishop c4. So now we're simultaneously winning the queen, simultaneously attacking the queen and the king with check. So this will result in us winning the queen by force. So queen takes d5 is no good. If he plays knight takes d5, similar idea actually. We'll play bishop c4, and let's say he blocks that check like this. Now we can simply win a piece. The knight on e7 is pinned, which means that it is not defending the knight on d5. So the rook on e1 is the piece that's pinning the knight on e7. So what we can do is we can simply take on d5. He can take with the queen, we can take, and the knight on e7 can't take, it's still pinned. So white has a winning position here. And if he, in this position, if he plays knight d2 e7, now we play queen b3. And this is a fairly hopeless position for black already. Apart from the pressure against f7, white is just gonna develop much more easily, and there will be an attack against black king fairly soon. The bishop on c1 goes to f4 or g5, the knight on b1 goes to c3, the rook on a1 will go to d1, and black's pieces are kind of just stepping on each other's toes at the same time. So none of that will work for black. A better move here would actually have been knight b8. The opponent chose none of the above and played knight to d4. So this game was only 11 moves, and we've done 10 moves. So I'll leave it up to you guys to see if you can find white's next move. White to play and win in one move. And the move is bishop e5 checkmate. So this is what I was talking about earlier. It is a double check, meaning two pieces are checking the king, the rook, and the bishop. It is a discovered check because we moved the bishop and the rook gave check, and it is checkmate. So the power of double checks is that you're then limited to moving only your king. Taking the pieces checking on b5 is not possible because the rook on e1 is still checking. Blocking the checks is not possible because you can't block both. So you would have to, in a double check, always move your king. In this case, you just can't. So that's why it is checkmate. All right. So this was Crammy versus Flying Far Away, using the discovered at home mating pattern. And the key things to look out for when you're doing this pattern are open e-file, rook on e1, bishop on e2, and the king, black king still on e8, and then you play bishop b5, and that'll be checkmate when black has those pieces that are blocking him, the queen, the bishop, and the pawn on f7. They're all blocking him. So it's a really fun pattern to be able to do in a real game, and I had the good fortune of being able to do this in actually 3 separate games. So I wanted to just quickly show you how this happened in 2 other games. In the other games, my opponents played c5, the Sicilian defense, knight f3, and in one of them, knight c6, d4. Alright, so here my opponent played e6, which I think is a mistake. When you play the Sicilian defense, the point of it kind of is to take on d4 when with a pawn on c5 when white plays d4, so that's what you should do. After e6, white can simply play d5, and I think he already is a little bit better with more space and kicking that knight around on c6. But taking like this, I think, only makes matters worse. So, for example, like the game played here after knight e7, here I actually missed a way to win a piece, which is with a move d6, knight moves, and then queen gives the check, and yeah, black will have to block that check with one of his pieces that the pawn on d6 can then take. So, but luckily for us, I missed this. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to see this discovered at home mating pattern in this game, which is what happened. Because I played bishop e2 instead. He played d6, stopping d6 from white. Castles, knight f6, and rook e1. Notice how I'm making basically the same move. So if you have an idea, you can reuse it, use it in another game. So I'm just basically using the same idea here as in the first game. Put the knight on f3, bishop on e2, rook on e1, and now my opponent thought he was winning a pawn, so he took the pawn like this. However, this was a trap that he fell into, because now I think my next move surprised him. Maybe it will surprise some of you guys as well. I took the knight. So now you're probably thinking, but what about the knight on e7? Can't it take? And yes, it can, and he did. But now we have all the elements of the discovered at home mating pattern. We have a rook on e1, bishop on e2, king on e8, and an open e-file, and you've guessed it, the next move was bishop b5 checkmate. So there you have it, same mating pattern, different opening. And then finally the third example was another Sicilian, e4 c5, knight f3, and in this case he played a6, which I believe is called the O'Kelly variation, but I played c3, which transposes into some kind of Alapin Sicilian. d5, e takes d5, queen takes d5, d4, bishop g4. So far I think both sides are making just sensible moves. Bishop e2, I'm still just making the same moves as in the other games, more or less, with the bishop and the knight. e6 and castles, of course. Knight c6, and I'm sure you can guess the next move by now based on the two previous games that we looked at. We put the rook on e1, preparing the trap as I wrote there. Knight f6, and now we do what we did in Krami versus Flying Far Away. We try to open up the e-file. We'll need a little help from the opponent, which he graciously gave in this game as well. So c4, queen d8, d5, and now of course he should have moved his knight, but instead he take knight d4, and you guessed it, bishop b5, checkmate once again. So this game was played in 2009. The second game that we looked at was played in 2003, and then Krami versus Flying Far Away in 2007. So that was the discovered at home mating pattern. I hope you enjoyed watching, and even better if you think maybe you've learned something from it that you can use in your own games. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.